Dear friends, thank you for being part and parcel of this channel and helping it to grow. Today we are taking a break from my prison story. I will address myself to the state of affairs obtaining in the country. We have a regime whose creed is crime. The rate at which corruption scandals succeed each other is mind-boggling. The impunity and criminal disregard for the rule of law by those in power, the contempt, the disdain, and in some cases the open hostility and brutality with which power treats ordinary citizens, and most worryingly, the resignation of citizens to this state of affairs or portend catastrophe for this country. One man has undermined all state institutions and concentrated all power in his hands. His family has virtually colonized every aspect of national life, and they bask in vanity and the shameless and arrogant display of power. Like the French king on the eve of the 1789 revolution, Museveni is able to say, "L'État, c'est moi. I am the state." This state of affairs should ring a bell to every citizen that has a conscience. Museveni is walking in the footsteps of Mobutu Sese Seko, and Ugandans are following the path taken by Zairois, heading to where Zaire ended, a failed state. Mobutu believed he was infallible, just like Museveni. The Zairois believed that it was futile to take him on by all means necessary, just like many Ugandans who believe in their inherent weakness and are overwhelmed by a sense of hopelessness. Like Museveni, Mobutu had a son called Kongolo. He was an army captain, and he also served in his father's presidential guard. He was nicknamed Saddam because he used to brutalize the political opposition and anyone that was deemed to be opposed to his father's regime. And he was also sometimes called Vatican, meaning that he was a state within a state. Like Muhoozi, Kongolo was also above the law. Mobutu's sycophants in his party, the MPR, just like the NRM, pontificated about Zaire's demise once Mobutu was out of power. Probably they knew that the state could not stand because all state institutions had been killed off, just like Museveni has killed off all state institutions. So they knew what was coming because they had prepared it. And cursed they were, for they put their trust in mortal beings. Citizens gave up on their country and resigned to fate. They channeled all their efforts to making ends meet and finding means of survival. Article 15 débrouillez-vous, they called it, which means Article 15, fend for yourself, weye. They chose to be spectators in the affairs of their country. Mobutu was propped up by the West under the guise of fighting communism, just like Museveni has been the surrogate of Western interests under the guise of fighting terrorism. But Mobutu was thrown out. He was dumped by those he had worked for. Just like the West will dump Museveni. When Mobutu fell, and fall he had to, because he was as mortal as any other mortal being, Zaire disintegrated. It became the failed state that we see today. Why? Because its owners had chosen to be passive spectators. Today, its fate is being decided by foreigners in the form of MONUSCO, and if it's not MONUSCO, it is the East African Standby Force and all other armed forces that are being called in to save the situation. The spectator citizens who spared their efforts thinking that they were saving their own skins are now reaping the sour grapes of their inaction. Luke 17:33 tells us that whoever seeks to save his life will lose it. This is therefore a clarion call, especially to those that have elected to do nothing about the sorry state of affairs prevailing in the country. If you leave things to fate, foreigners will decide your fate. Make no mistake about that. Therefore, we have a choice to make. We either choose cowardice or courage, complacency or commitment, action or resignation. What sacrilege has not been committed by the despot against our country? What crimes have not been committed against us citizens? You who think that your responsibility is to yourself alone. You know that someone is stealing the future you are working so hard to secure. We are all aware of the NSSF scandal, which has not begun today, because we've been living with that scandal for all these years. And what have you decided to do about it? I will work harder, you tell yourself. Just like a boxer in the book Animal Farm. And how did the boxer end? He was sold to the butchers to be slaughtered. And to us who have chosen the path of struggle, let us put our petty differences aside and feel the pain of Uganda. We are scrambling for things of very little value as the enemy entrenches himself and spells disaster for the country. I want to speak to your consciences. Change course, or calamity will befall our country. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told his Sahabas to use their hand to remove wrong. That is to stand up and use force to correct evil. He told them, if you cannot use your hand, use your tongue. speak out against the wrong that is being done, the injustice that is being done, the evil that is being done. And he told them, if you cannot afford the two, then hate the wrong with all your heart and have nothing to do with it. So don't collaborate, don't cooperate with those that are doing wrong, with the wrongdoers. Have nothing to do with them. But he also added that that third option was for those that are weak in faith. Therefore, his emphasis was either use your hand, do something proactive about it, or if you can't, speak out against it. Now we have a choice to either take robust action against the criminals in power, or to speak out against them, or to be spectators like the Zairois chose. But whatever choice we choose, let's know that if we choose inaction, we will not avoid the consequences of inaction. The choice is yours, for God and my country.